Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach,
And I'm Pepper.
and today we're giving our first impressions of Piepmatz, or Little Songbirds, according to Z. Garcia. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly or not. We tried to go over a couple different videos of people that have reviewed it or talked about it, and it was all different answers. So we're going with Piepmatz,
The funnest.
the funnest. But yeah, this is a smaller box game, mainly a card game that you are trying to collect these birds. It's not quite Wingspan, but and not really played anything like Wingspan, but it reminds me a little bit of that because you're trying to collect some birds. It's a game mainly about set collection, I would say. You're trying to there's these different colors of birds, and all with kind of different values on them, and you are trying to collect the most of each of those. I feel like that's kind of a thing in a lot of games. I don't know if that's kind of a. I think there's maybe a name for it. Makes me think of tug of war, but it's not quite tug of war, where
Yeah.
you're just kind of majority. I guess it could easily be area majority in a way. Uh, but you do that through kind of playing some cards from your hand and trying to essentially like almost like bid on the cards that are out there. In a way, kind of. I don't know exactly how I would describe what you're doing. Kind of a bidding, kind of a buying, with the as if your card is worth some value based on its number of points. Because if you play a card down, so there'll be a card birds out there that you can bid on, essentially, and or buy, purchase in a way, and you play a card from your hand, and if the value of that card is larger than the one you are trying to buy, then you will take that card and you'll take the difference between those two, the one you just used and the one you just bought, and kind of gets usually this seed bonus or whatever. And it's just dependent on what the difference is, and those kind of vary in points as well. So it's kind of a little extra bonus potentially,
Yeah.
and then you take that card that you bought and add it to your kind of tableau or collection of bird cards. And by the end of the game, whoever has the most of each color will get to score those birds. And if you have kind of some pairs of birds, so the female and male version of the same card, so 2 5 greens maybe, you'd get an additional 5 points. Uh, you get an additional 5 points no matter. That one just happened to be 5 and 5 that I said in my example. If you had a 2 and 2, that'd also be 5 points. So you get the bonuses for getting those pairs as well. So um, yeah, I think it's a pretty simple card game. The scoring is pretty simple.
Yeah. Yeah. This one made me feel like, what is it? Arboretum.
Oh, yep.
Where you kind of, it's a very tight game, a small hand of cards. And at least in this one, you are collecting the cards that you want to then create a majority with instead of having to hold them in your hand. So it's not that kind of dual objective of I want to play these, but I want to keep them. Here, you do just want to play them. And I think it is probably the perfect complexity of like scoring and different things like that because it is tough. It is tight. It doesn't feel as tight as Arboretum, but this definitely isn't Uno or anything like that. But I I think it's probably not too approachable. It's not one of the first card games I would show
Mhm.
someone, but I don't think it's too tough.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's kind of right in that mid-tier range, just because there are a couple of those things going on, and then kind of in addition, you got those extra bonus points. Sometimes there will be a negative card attached to a card, so sometimes you're trying to avoid being a certain amount difference.
Yeah.
So like yeah, in that case, you wouldn't want to be like just +1 or +2. You'd want to be maybe +3 difference. So it kind of creates those interesting different pieces there. And then kind of another thing you can do is if you bid or pay less than the one on there, then you can play a card from your hand that's lower than the one you just played. But then in a way that kind of can set up potentially things for the other player. So
Yeah.
I felt like in our play, and maybe this would change with more plays. I'd be interested to see kind of how it feels with more plays. But this is maybe a little bit of a negative for me is in the game the way we played it anyway. It didn't feel like I ever wanted to set the other per or set you up for uh, being able to. So if you don't pay enough, then your card just kind of sits out there as kind of an additional whatever its value was for the next person to try to attempt to buy that. So um, yeah, if they end up playing a card, the next card, I think that's certain value. You could potentially get two cards because it kind
Yeah,
of re-triggers and recalculates.
yeah, exactly.
So that was where most of the time it didn't feel good to do that, but maybe with more
Yeah,
plays, it would kind of reveal itself of, oh, I should be doing it more often for some reason.
yeah,
Maybe it just the way kind of played out the first game, it didn't feel like that was a useful thing, but
yeah.
maybe it could be in the future.
Because if you do need like a pair or something, like you need a one to complete one of your couples of birds in your collection, and you're like, well, I'm not really. If I put it out there, it's really never going to become the card at the perch that you're trying to win. So I should just try to get it into my collection this way, and then yeah, like if there's a six at the perch and there's a three there, you put another three, and then you did not set the six, you did not beat it. So then you take your one or whatever and put it into your score pile, and then yeah, the next person could just throw a two on there, and what they would get the six, a three would move up to the top. The three and the two would then beat the three. They would get the three as well. The three would go up there, and then that would end. And it just doesn't feel good because it's already such a tight game, and with the majorities being the amount of cards at the end for each color, giving them two on a turn, if they do happen to be the right colors, seems just not something you want to do, not worth it, even if you do get something good yourself. It feels like you're giving up a lot. But I mean,
Mhm.
that's just part of the game, and I think maybe with more players, that could be more interesting.
It's true. We
Because you
did play it
also
at two
have,
players, so that
yeah,
kind of changed things too.
yeah, because I think that adds another perch, so it'll just be a lot more options. But yeah, I like it. It's takes a game to wrap your head around kind of how it works and what you're actually going to get from playing a card. But after a couple plays now, I think I got a good idea of it. And first impression of this one might be a little too tight for me. I like the scoring. I think it's satisfying when you get to score everything. But if you don't get to score a color that you were doing pretty well in, just because the other player got one more card than you, that can feel pretty rough. But
Mhm.
again, it's not a long game, so you can just play it again. I'd probably give this one an 8, I think. I enjoyed it quite a
Well,
bit. I might prefer it to Arboretum. I don't know. I maybe I'm crazy for comparing them so much. I just feel like they give me the similar vibe, similar
yeah,
experience.
I can see it in kind of the same vein. Yeah, for me, I think you've played it a couple more times. I've just played it the once. For me, it's probably more of like a six. I really like the artwork and the
Yeah,
bird cards and stuff. That looks really awesome. But yeah, I would now that you're comparing it to that, I would much rather personally play Arboretum. I'd rather play Lost Cities, which I think I would say kind of makes me think a little bit as well. Not like you said, they're not like exactly alike to those, but I'd probably rather play both of those over this. Um, and yeah, there's just some things a little bit too much luck, and maybe like you said, at a different player count, it might feel a little bit different. Whereas yeah, in the two-player one, then it is kind of just a duel, and maybe it doesn't work for some of those mechanisms quite as well. Uh,
yeah,
and yeah, getting those majorities and stuff, knowing oh boy, I can't be giving him that because then he'll get that. Whereas yeah, if you have more players, it kind of loosens it up maybe a little bit
yeah.
more of like oh they're gonna get that, so at least they're not gonna get all of those. So maybe that would change my rating, but I think as of right now for a two-player game, I'd probably put this one at a six personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I was probably more around there on my first game. It was probably like a 7. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, did Pepper? I found out Pepper didn't do One of these last ones we did, he not doing an unboxing. Did you do an unboxing of this one, Pepper?
I don't think I did. I'm like, there's just cards in there. Nobody, you see it right there on the screen. I
Wow,
mean, you
this
see
guy.
the cards. It's all in there. It's all cards. I don't think I did.
Wow, even this
Wanted to,
beautiful artwork.
wanted to play it right away.
You wanted to get this one right to the table. So you cannot go check out our unboxing video, but you can go check out some of our other unboxings, our other first impressions if you
Yes.
wish. You can subscribe if you want to see future content like this. Give us a like. But otherwise, we hope to see you on our other videos. And as always, don't forget to keep on nibbling on our content.